We'll go to 12A, which has been moved, to the presentation of the FY23 audit by Josh Trujillo of the SJT Group. Josh?
Good morning, Josh.
See everybody, I have a brief PowerPoint presentation that I put together if you'd like me to go through that. Otherwise, I can just summarize the results from the audit to you all over this meeting, whatever works best for you all.
Summarize is fine.
What was that? I can't.
Is that summarizing is fine.
The verbal summarization is fine, Josh, thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you for inviting me to the board meeting this morning to summarize the results from the fiscal year 2023 audit. The audit itself was completed right at the end of October of 2023. The regulatory deadline to get this to the New Mexico Office of the State Auditor is November 1st, 2023. So that deadline was met. Now from that time period through really last week, the state auditor spends its time going through the report, reviewing it. They come to us or the commission with any changes or questions about the report, and those changes were made and the report was finalized a couple of weeks ago. So once that's finalized, then it is made available to the public, and therefore we're able to actually present the results of the audit to you all. Now, before the audit was submitted to the state auditor's office, we did present it in an exit conference to the commission's management as well as to Commissioner Smith-Casford and Mr. Gibbs. And we did that right before the audit was submitted to the state auditor's office. Now, our main responsibility as the commission's auditors is to audit the financial statements of the commission. And we audit, the commission kind of as one single entity, and we provide an opinion on its financial statements. But then we also audit the commission at its individual fund level. So we look at the commission's general fund, its capital fund. We look at CTO and the historic preservation entities separately also. And we also give separate opinions on each of those different funds within the commission. Now, I'm happy to report that as part of our audit, we issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on the commission as a whole, as well as each of those individual funds of the commission. Now, issuing an unmodified opinion doesn't mean that there were no adjustments made as part of the audit. It doesn't mean that there were no findings or recommendations made as part of the audit. But what it means is that at the conclusion of our audit, we feel that the commission's financial statements were materially correct. Now, as part of the fiscal year 2023 audit, we did report 3 findings as part of the audit. 2 of those findings were actually carried forward from the fiscal year 2022 audit, and that related to account reconciliations as well as the use of purchase orders. And then we had one new finding in fiscal year 2023, which related to the New Mexico Public Money Act. That act basically requires that monies that are received by the commission are deposited within 24 hours of their receipt. And there was one transaction that we tested where that deposit was made more than 24 hours after the receipt. So that was kind of the basis for that finding. The account reconciliation finding really relates to adjustments that we make as part of the audit, and that has been the case for the last couple of years. Now, in years where there aren't significant or material adjustments made as part of the audit, that finding will ultimately be considered to be resolved. But during the fiscal year 2023 audit, there were some adjustments made as part of the audit to be able to provide that clean or unmodified opinion on the commission's financial statements. And then the commission's financial policies and procedures do require the use of purchase orders. And we identified one vendor during the year that was actually paid more than the approved aggregate approved purchase orders that were issued during the year. So that was really the basis for that other purchase orders finding. Now, there were 2 findings from the previous year's audit, the 2022 audit, that were resolved during fiscal year 2023. One of them being what we call a material weakness, really those high level, most severe type of findings. And that related to how timely the states of Colorado and New Mexico were being invoiced by the commission for its capital appropriations. The commission was much more timely and diligent in invoicing those appropriations during fiscal year 2023. And because of that, we considered that finding from the previous year to be resolved. And then in fiscal year 2022, the audit was actually completed and submitted to the state auditor's office past the November 1st deadline. And because of that, there was also a finding for submitting that report late. This year, as I mentioned, the report was completed on time and it was submitted by that November 1st deadline. So that finding was also considered to be resolved during the year. Otherwise, as part of our audit, if there were any disagreements with management during the audit, we would be required to communicate that to the board ultimately, but there were no such disagreements. Scott and Alicia and really anybody else that's involved in the audit were very helpful to us in ultimately getting through the procedures we needed to get through and being able to submit the audit by that November 1st deadline. Otherwise, the financial statements at this point are in final form. They are available to the public. And if there are any questions about the audit, I'd be happy to go through them with you all now. I believe Mr. Gibbs and others have my contact information. If there are questions about the audit after today's meeting, I'd be happy to go through them. So thanks again for inviting me.
Any questions?
I don't think so. Thanks, Josh. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks a lot.
your hard work. I know this isn't an easy property to audit, so we appreciate you very much.
Yeah, it's great to work with you all. So thanks again for inviting me.